All right, the next report we have, I just want to remind the board that we're counting down to our accreditation visit, which happens when, Sean?
March 6th, 7th, and 8th.
And we'll get that on your calendar because generally, as part of that accreditation visit, they'll want to have a session with the board, probably a dinner, but we'll work with you on that. And one of the other things they're going to want to see is that the board has been looking at data about student success and is aware of that, just like the rest of the college, so that we're data-driven. Dr. Hogan, if you would, a brief report on enrollment and retention trends.
Okay, tonight I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our. That went quickly.
That's what I'm talking about. I can't wait to tell your creditors.
Committed that all the memory, right?
You saw it. I did.
So, as you know, our enrollment did go down a little bit this term, a little bit relatively speaking. Many of our neighbors went down 3, 4, 5, 6%. We came down about 1.2% in headcount, 1.5% in credit hours. So that leaves us at about 12,673 students on our census day. But there are a few bright spots in the data that we've been looking at. One is newly enrolled college credit students. These are students fresh out of high school. Been inching up over the last few fall terms. And that's a little bit of good news here, since I've told you elsewhere that our high school graduations, the numbers of emerging high school seniors, is plateauing and staying flat as the county's population has stabilized over the last, this decade. So we're not expecting that population to be a growth population yet. The work of our High School Alliance, I think, is starting to pay off. The High School Alliance schools produced 45, or about half of the new students that we had enrolled fresh out of high school this term. From the non-participating high schools, a net decline. So some of these other new students are coming from outside the district or had maybe taken a single semester, a year off from school. So there's growth here in these recent high school graduates. We're also seeing some college students returning to the district. These are transfer-in students, usually from the 4 years, who decide to come back home. Another year of growth. Now, our total enrollment of new students, the number in parentheses at the bottom is the number of incoming students, part-time and full-time, 2556 in the fall of 2015. This is the number that we turned the following spring. This is a pretty precipitous drop historically for us, about 30% decline in enrollment among these students. About 5% or so transfer in that window right after the first semester with us. A few do flunk out. We have a few who struggle right away, so that's another 10% or so. And 55% are withdrawing from us, so that by the returning fall, mid-50% coming back to us. Some of the things that keep our students from staying with us, life gets in the way once in a while. Some health issues, they tell us. Some students, their job changes, and so their hours of availability may change, and some of them are no longer able to stay with us. So there's some students, though, that we think we certainly can serve. Those students who are who transfer, they could stay with us another semester. Those students who struggle academically, we have programs in place that are trying to keep them afloat and with us, and we'll summarize some of the efforts we have going on in just a minute. This tells us what we can do if we retain some more of these students. If we continue at our normal pace of returning students, somewhere around 70%, because the number of students coming in is declining, our enrollment is going to continue declining. We have to do more to keep them with us. We have to grow that return rate by 1.5% or 2% just to have the same number that we had a year ago in overall enrollment. So the work that's going on around the college, we've heard a little bit about most of this tonight. An overall enrollment strategy and new technologies that the board has invested in. More direct marketing that our PR department is doing and that our enrollment service is doing with direct telephone, text messaging work. The High School Alliance is showing some promise for us already. And working with that new promise program should help attract more students to us. Retention strategy that's built around expanded tutoring and peer mentoring for students to help them maintain progress and sustain their academic performance. And the President has talked to you separately about the idea of the MRI division and harnessing the work of my department, ITS, PR, and WPDI for a more coherent strategy for retaining and attracting students. And the marketing department has a short-term strategy that is engaging in more electronic media, more social media, more of the entertainment media, and to attract newer students. Oops, well, discussion, questions.
I was thinking the other day, because I saw a billboard going down to the airport about a college recruiting veterans with veteran-friendly college. And we've been a veteran-friendly college now for years upon years.
Yeah.
Is there something special we do that we can attract more veterans to alert them to what goes on here at the college and how welcoming we are and how we, have a Veterans Affairs
Definitely.
staff?
And that's going to be part of, so what we're doing on October 18th when we do the planning and the agenda, we're going to have the draft of that strategic marketing plan, but the point of that is to segment all the, like the veterans, look at those groups, develop strategies for each of them, track those strategies, see if we're reaching them, and also find best practices and bring them in.
Yeah.
So,
Good.
yeah.
Sean, did I hear you say that about 10% of those students from the fall to the spring actually flunk out?
They show up with grades D, F, and do show, yeah, about 10% of serious grade problems.
I don't know if anybody's familiar with it's House Bill 5729. Does that mean anything to anybody? It was recently signed into legislation July 1st. I think the nickname is the Post-Secondary Workforce Readiness Act.
Yeah.
I guess I would highly recommend that through our high school alliance that we're talking with the high schools about this House bill, which is now law, and ask them to sign on to it. My understanding is if they do, it will certainly help with it should help us decrease the remedial courses in both math and language arts that we have to provide, which I think would certainly then also help with our retention rate of those students not coming back. But the part that I found disturbing is in that piece of legislation, high schools can opt out, which is why I'm mentioning it. I mean, I think it would be crazy for a high school to say, hey, no, I don't want to do this. But since we're engaged in such a strong working relationship in the High School Alliance, I would really encourage us to get our schools to sign on to it.
We share through the Alliance data about the students coming in from the member high schools, and actually over the last few years, the amount of remediation needed has
Slightly
declined.
combined, yeah. Rich, you want to go ahead?
And we're actually going to be talking about that at our next high school alliance at some point. We've already started some of the individual meetings that Karen and Molly and I go on to the high schools. We've started to talk about that. So.
Awesome. Keep
Can
at it.
we go back just a couple slides and talk about, sorry. Forward.
There?
The verbiage,
Yes.
forward.
One more.
One more. Yeah.
Yes, retention strategy. No, enrollment strategy. Are those trackable? Can they be measured as far as their effectiveness? I asked that question because last meeting we talked about the media budget and we spend on average $103,000 for direct, I guess this is all direct media spend. So I'm curious about direct marketing campaign. If we're spending $103,000 on that, can we track what percentage of our success can be attributed to the direct marketing, or are we spending in the wrong areas? That's what I'm interested in. Is that trackable?
Yes.
And how would you track that to let us know that the direct marketing, as far as our enrollment strategy, the direct marketing is attributed to 10% of increased enrollment? Can that statement be made
Well,
with some certainty?
you know, I guess the best answer is it depends. So some of our success, if you're talking about new students, has to do with recruitment and their efforts. Some of it has to do with marketing, but I know Ann set up some ways to track some of the new marketing we were doing. I know Ann's a little bit under the weather, but
I mean, because
you
if
wanna-
we're spending money, and if we're spending $103,000 on direct marketing, but it's only attributing to 2%, then we probably should change how much we invest in certain programs.
well, sure.
I mean, I'm just, you know,
Yeah.
you have to, there has to be some tracking mechanism to see how we're spending our money, and if it's a good return on our investment.
Yeah, although with, yeah, go ahead, Ann.
Excellent question. We're right now working very closely with enrollment services. We spent 2 hours last week with Patrick and Jay Sarna, really looking at the cycle just for recruitment of a new high school student, mapping out everything that happens on an annual basis, because we are so aligned with recruitment, and then we still need to do that same exercise with the other populations. So what we're going to be doing that is still a work in progress is huge segmentation of our audiences. As far as the media buy, we will be tracking that. There is a method in their Target X system to track, you know, how the student heard about
Yes.
guaranteed transfer. Absolutely, and you know, bottom line is we'll have a plan with set goals, objectives, timeframes, audiences, and we'll measure if something's not working. It's gone. I
I'll be
mean, we
part of
have to.
that. So a whole strategic marketing plan, you'll get a good piece of it, as I said, at the planning retreat, but you'll be able to see how some of the segments fit together, and we'll give you the draft of that before the meeting.
And Linda, in the past, it wasn't very easy to do this until we did the CRM tool, so it's salesforce.com is really the underlying tool, and it allows us to begin to track that kind of information.
I mean, businesses do it all the time.
Yeah, sure.
You have to be able to determine your return on investment. And I'm looking at the media spend, and you know, just a novice looking at social media, it is really only a what is that, a sixth of radio? And I'm thinking social media should be probably a little higher, but you know, but how would you know unless you know how
Begin to do
effective it
research.
is?
Sure.
You should be spending more. Okay.
I'm sorry. Sean, okay, I'm interested in the comment that you made about that we lose about 10% each year that just like get D's and F's, and I'm thinking like they're kids that give up. You know, maybe don't attend. After a while, something happens, they just give up. And I'm looking at the retention strategy there, which is what I'm thinking we're trying to address that with. And I'm also thinking about the coaching and the tracking.
These are just some.
Yeah, this isn't inclusive.
It's not an exhaustive list.
Right, because of the student success initiatives that are also being in place now for at least the last, this academic year, current year. And I'm wondering if we're seeing any change yet, any reduction in that group that we're losing right away that first semester? Have we had any measurable?
I think the early indications, and Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, is we're seeing greater retention of those students, so they may be registering at a higher level than they have in the past coming out of developmental. They may not be we're not seeing the success rates as high as we would like, but we are seeing them register for the next semester. Because oftentimes, a coach may actually coach them out of a particular class because they're going to fail. And they'll say, look, you should withdraw now, but let's talk about what we're going to do to get you in next semester and what you're going to do. So we are seeing some of that, I think some of the early indications of that.
You see that there, and with new student orientation, with higher retention of the students.
Well, you know what, you hit on something right there when you said it, because 10%, I was thinking of individuals, and maybe you're talking about classes. 10%, you're talking about individuals. Okay, because then I'm thinking, well, then they're being directed into, individuals can be directed into different classes, but are we, hopefully we're gonna reduce that 10% to a smaller number.
And one of the things that Sean Office also does is they've been doing a study of those students that we lose and trying to track them down to say, okay, what happened? And they've been tracking that information very, very closely as well. In some cases, there are things, at least what they're saying, that we may not be able to control. You know, there are life issues that are just happening. But, you know, they may say, well, I ran into some financial aid issue. Well, okay, let's get you in to talk to somebody in financial aid or, you know, see a counsel or advisor.
When you get that kind of feedback, we give that over to Patrick Fires Group so that they have a lead list in Salesforce that they can use for contacting and trying to re-engage student who identifies us as a problem. But when it's life issues, career changes, relocation, then we at least know that that's the area.
Well, you also going to have students who aren't interested in getting a degree. They just want to take a class. So they're in that 10%?
Not the ones that would fail out.
No, that's
Among
right.
the others
That's
who
right.
would withdraw.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sean. All right.
Can I ask Dr. Weber a question? We have a strategic marketing plan. Before we get reports on it and stuff, can the board have a chance to look at it, some time to digest it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that. Actually, I shared part of it with the chairman and the vice chair. It's got a little bit of feedback, and actually, I'm going to show you a little bit more of that too. You want to do my evaluation? All right.
Next item, I think.
Yep, next item is, thank you, Mr. Chairman.